Alright, so we're looking at my Jersey Giants, and I'm going to try to stay on task here and not go off on tangents. We're very tangential over here. And I would like to, first of all, show you Hennis. So, Hennis is absolutely a Jersey rooster. So, he's bigger, taller, wider, everything than most other chickens, and absolutely the hens. The males are very, very large. And what they're doing here, if you can see, is actually one of the reasons I decided to get chickens. And that was they sift through all the leaves that drop from our oak trees, which are everywhere. And they'll eat seeds and whatnot, which is actually what they're almost certainly doing here. But they are not too picky. They will absolutely go after bugs that they scrape up, and pretty much anything that fits down a chicken's throat will end up in the chicken if it looks like it might be appetizing. So I've noticed quite a bit of acorns go missing compared to when I didn't have chickens. We used to have scorpions literally 3 to 4 times in a business week. We have not had one in months, and even when we did, it was one, and then it had been months. So I actually doubt that the chickens are actively eating the scorpions. I think what they're doing is they're displacing their food supply, and so the chickens are eating anything that the scorpions might consider for dinner, and then they price them out of the market, and the scorpions got to go move on or starve to death. And they do one of those two things, and I don't get to see scorpions in my house. Well, actually, my wife is the one that finds them. I almost never see them, and they don't bother me, but having to retrieve them all the time does bother me, and I just don't do it anymore because the chickens have handled that. Although our Muscovies, which I think I've actually already covered, they are awake when scorpions are awake, and that's one of the reasons that chickens won't actively eat your scorpions that are causing you problems. They'll just eat everything that the scorpions would normally eat that they can get to during the day. Not that they won't eat scorpions. In fact, that's usually the fate of any scorpion found in my house, is being ceremoniously dumped outside in range of chickens. And that usually results in the scorpion being turned into an egg for me. So we're walking over here because I've got a really good example of my cockerels that I've got here. I'm pretty sure both of these chickens that you see here are cockerels, which is a teenage chicken, a teenage rooster. This one is 100% Jersey Giant, and you can kind of see, well, maybe you can't. Let's zoom in here a little. You can see he's kind of got bigger feathers on his butt, and it may not be obvious here, but those feathers are actually reflective. They have like a beetle sheen, just like the back of a mundane beetle. So it kind of looks greenish black in sunlight, and it glistens, and it's showy and pretty, and that's the whole point, as they look neat. Now the one that he's hanging out with is his half brother, and you can tell that he is not all Jersey Giant. He's Barred Rock, and I don't have a Barred Rock rooster, so there's only one chicken out here that could be his dad, and we seen him first there. So these guys share a dad, even though they don't look very much like him in at least the hybrid's case. And they're very flighty right now. They're still baby chickens. Since they're gonna be roosters, they're actually bigger than the hens already, and they're a little bit leery around the dogs. They don't like me coming near them either. They're very skittish, even though they were handled quite a bit as babies. But you'll notice that the rooster walked right up to me while he was eating, and I was not a major concern, although he won't let me touch him. Some of the other chickens will actually allow me to touch them. Well, no, I guess it's kind of untrue. If I have food, I can touch any of the animals that I have here. But that's usually the limit. The Muscovies will actually come, some of them will come looking for attention and pets like dogs would, but even not all of them will do that. And especially as they're getting older, they're getting a little bit more independent. But two of them will absolutely wander up to humans that aren't moving too quickly. Like if you're walking, you're kind of a threat because they're small and could easily be stepped on. But yeah, let's see how close we can get to them. But actually, this video is supposed to be about the Jersey Giant, so let's continue to talk about that while I show you this. So the Jerseys, they get really big, especially the roosters, and at some point they're not as easy of a meal for your typical birds of prey, hawks and whatnot. They can still kill them, but they're too big to pick up. And if you have your birds outside with things like that, or especially that, and maybe that, depending on your temperament of your dogs, it's too risky for them and they won't do it. We did have a hawk that, or not a hawk, it was probably an owl. I didn't actually get to see him, although we had one ram the house trying to go through a window in a covered area, and it did break its neck, but it kind of proved what kind of owls we have out here. And the funny thing is I never heard it, and neither did the wife. So, you know, we're home all the time. And we didn't hear a 10-pound bird smack into a glass surface, which is weird. But yeah, some kind of a night bird of prey managed to grab several of our chickens quite a while ago, actually. And they were not able to pick the chicken up and go anywhere with it. And of course the dogs were first on the scene, and so whatever this thing was, it grabbed a couple of them, and then the dogs intervened after a couple of nights, and it has not been back since. But we did lose some chickens in the deal. Bear, now if you start that fight, that chicken will kick your butt. I guarantee it. You're just lucky that the big dogs are following you. The rooster does not like this little dog here. Neither does the goose either. He's kind of yippy and barky, and so obviously that's seen as an aggressive thing by both the rooster and our gander, and both of them are more than a match for him, although the rooster doesn't know that, but the goose does. He was kind of mean to the goose when it was a gosling. Liked to growl and bark at it when it was in its little cage. And I don't know about elephants, but geese don't seem to forget. And so he has to be kind of careful while he's out here. He can easily outrun it though, so you know, it's not a big deal. It's not like the goose is going to kill him or eat him or even injure him, really. He's got a bitey part and wings to smack things with, but it's pretty easy to get away from him. He's kind of chubby and he can't fly, although the Muscovies are pretty good at it. Speaking of which, the Jerseys, they're not very good flyers either. In fact, I've got an area in the back that, if you've seen my other videos, you can clearly see. I've got a 4.5 foot fence, and I've got a couple of 6 foot fences, and they can clear both of those fences, but they won't. The 4.5 foot one will keep them in one area pretty effectively until nighttime. And at nighttime they will fly up to wherever they want to roost at, be it a coop or, you know, a shed or a tree. And I have chickens that like to roost in various locations until I get a very large locking coop. They kind of do whatever they want. And the wind destroyed ours So I can keep a couple of them in a coop, and I used to, but they are very free spirits, I guess, especially the Jerseys. Yeah, here we go. This Jersey right here was running from Rusty, who was probably trying to make baby chickens with him, and we might get a little bit of it. Yep, there you go. So my chickens don't usually fight. They try anything they can to not, and so this guy here has got to be kind of a sneaky chicken in order to mate, because this guy has claimed all of them, and so the future of those two cockerels is anything but certain. And I don't get chicken fights pretty much at all. Yeah, the only thing that fights the chickens is things that aren't chickens. So I was under the impression that if you had a lot of male chickens, you would run into some pretty bad fights, but that doesn't seem to be the case, especially with the Jerseys. They're a pretty personable chicken. I mean, this is a rooster, and I'm able to get this close. Although he is watching the heck out of me because he doesn't trust me, because I like to pet him and hold him. And he is a lot of fun to hold because he's just so big. It's just comical. And of course, he is a chicken, and he does not like that. But he will tolerate it. If I catch him, he'll just kind of like, it's not like he's going to fight and peck and bite and scratch. He just kind of goes, okay, well, you got me. Now what? And then he, for a week or two, he's just a little bit more careful around me. So I try not to do it if I can help it, but he is a lot of fun to hold. Aren't you, buddy? Yeah, and so I'm really close to him, and he's got nowhere to go, so he's just wandering around there, and he just let that happen. He knows that 95% of the time I'm not interested in holding him down and petting him, so he's pretty good with me now. And all the Jerseys have kind of that temperament. They're pretty easygoing chickens. They get really big. You can keep them in a fence that's, doesn't have a top, as long as it's sufficiently tall. This fence right here is the one I was talking about. It is probably 4.5 feet tall. And let's see. I had 2 hens that were in here. And they'd been in here for a couple of days. They might be, oh, there's one right there. So this fence is, that tall on me, which is maybe 4 or 5 inches over my waist. This one right here is about eye level, which should be right around 6 foot. Yeah. Okay, well, over here, it's like a little bit higher than eye level, so 6'2" or so. And there's the 2 chickens, and they can actually climb this. Hey there, baby Jersey. They can climb this, or they can fly over it. They really like to sit in this tree at nighttime, as opposed to that coop right there, and the coop that's over there. But if they end up in here, they can fly over this if they want to, and they can definitely fly over that if they want to, but they usually only do that at night, or in great need. They don't like to fly straight up. It's not something that they do unless they have to. And if they do get stuck over here, they'll come up and they'll roost in this tree, and then a lot of times they'll actually fly back down and land over here. It takes some of them about a week. Now, if I take all my chickens that I have and I throw food in here so they all come into this area, and I leave that gate over there open so they can access this 4.5 foot section or so, day 1 they'll all be in there. Day 2 they'll roost in this tree, and half of them will jump back into here, and the other half will be like, hey, this is where I'm supposed to be at, because I can't keep bugs from getting in this house if I'm over here. And so half of them will be over there. They'll roost in this tree, and then they'll be 75% over here and 25% over here, and they'll do that for about a week until pretty much all of them kind of figure out where they're supposed to be. And I think a huge part of that is because I throw food over here, and the competition over here is a little different. They have to compete with things like that and those things, and they tend to want to fight over food more than they want to eat the food, and so they'll all rush to the best pickings over here and headbutt the crap out of each other over it, and then the chickens can clean up all the stuff around the outside and they don't have to fight other chickens which have the same idea. So they're not overly smart animals, but I don't think anybody has ever argued that. They are very clever though. If they figure out a food, water, or shelter location, they can assimilate that information faster than most of my other animals, including these ones. They get and remember how to retrieve food extremely well, and it seems like they're completely geared that way. I don't know if that's just Barred Rocks and Jerseys or chickens in general, because I don't have any other chickens other than Rusty. So it is kind of surprising. They did not need to be taught how to use the Licks system, which is a dog waterer that I have outdoors for these guys, so that I don't put bowls of water on the ground and risk having wildlife use them as a ambush point for snakes biting dogs or toads that are toxic sitting in the water to keep their skin nice, and of course releasing toxins. We have either 2 or 4 toxic frogs that are in my area, and so it wasn't really an option for me to do that. So I installed a Lick system, and this goose and most of the chickens figured out how to operate this piece of equipment right here, which is the Licks. I've got it directly piped to a PVC outdoor water bib so that it's non-removable, although I can cut the water to it from elsewhere. And they figured that out very quickly. Most of the dogs still kind of don't trust it, but they know how to use it finally. And that took encouragement and training, whereas those guys and those guys and those guys figured that thing out by just going, hey, that's water, I see it, and or I see somebody else using it, and yeah, they're pretty smart in that aspect, I guess. So I really like the Jersey Giants. They're a pretty good chicken. Barred Rocks are a little bit more friendly and a little smaller, but there's supposed to be a great deal of Barred Rock in Jersey Giants, and that's how they made them, along with things like Orpingtons. I believe I pronounced that right. We'll find out. But they're easygoing, large, and pretty friendly as far as chickens are concerned. Not as friendly as this, where you get eaten by a duck. See, Muscovies will just, okay, you're gonna give me pets, that's fine. I'm gonna go ahead and eat you though. If I was small, these things are the things I'd be worried about, because they try to eat me now and I'm big. Alright, well that was pretty good. What do you think, Leben? What do you think? Is that a good video? I think you should go inside and get done with your homework. Ooh, burn.